Supergirl is out in theaters now and is projected to be absolutely demolished by the second weekend of Toy Story 5, believe it or not. And thanks to articles like this from Forbes, we can pretty much tell why. Supergirl buzz is fading fast, from box office projections to critic impressions. And not much of a surprise there, considering the lackluster response from virtually everybody under the sun. But still, there are some folks out there that seem a bit confused about what Supergirl needs to do financially to actually be successful for Warner Brothers. And of course, Warner Brothers is out there lowering the bar, but that doesn't stop people from continuously misinterpreting the very same thing we talked about in a previous video, including some big YouTube names.
Supergirl might make more money from Kentucky Fried Chicken than it does from movie audiences going to go see it.
We'll get to that too. Here we go. Get right on into it here. Let's look at this piece from Forbes that came out a couple of days ago here regarding Supergirl and the lackluster response, the falling response for it as the movie approached its opening, which is very unusual. Typically speaking, with films like this, you expect notoriety, awareness, whatever you want to call it out there, the energy basically to pick up. As we approach the release date, we ramp up towards that where the marketing campaign really kicks into high gear, including this additional $100 million of marketing support from third parties out there that we talked about in the previous video. By the way, thanks to Jack Pisovic out there on X for retweeting that video out. Big help. Much appreciated. But back to this piece from Forbes here. Things are starting to wobble. James Gunn himself was so excited about the Supergirl script from Anna Nogueira that he then put the writer on the upcoming all-important Wonder Woman.
Kal-El, no!
God help us. And let's talk about that for a minute, because that's one of the big problems of Supergirl. Anna Nogueira is, a nobody. Let me show you all the credits that she has to her name for writing here. Actress. Okay, well, we don't care about that. Writing. Previous. Up to now. Supergirl. Okay. And we win. A short comedy. A comedy short.
Improv. Stand-up comedy.
In other words, this chick has zero experience and had, frankly, no business writing a movie like this with a nearly $200+ million budget on hand, and we can all see the results. Even Variety magazine could not hold their tongue. Check this out. Supergirl review, Millie Alcock takes charge in a dystopian superhero movie so flat, it's super horrendous. It's got a terrible script and a punk rock attitude of corporate pretension.
You are not punk rock.
Why is the script terrible? Simple. As Deadline states, maybe that's because the movie has no story. I don't know about you, but I would say that probably the biggest objective any film should have, at least at a basic level, a fundamental level, would be to have a story to tell. Apparently, this one does not.
That was not smart.
So going back to Forbes magazine, it seems no wonder that the thrill is gone for Supergirl, or really the thrill that never was to begin with. And bear in mind, look at the date of this. This was published at 9 in the morning Eastern Daylight Time on June 23rd. That was before a lot of the reviews for this actually dropped. Deadline magazine, in a report, says Forbes, about how a $100 million promotional partner campaign is DC's biggest ever, notes that Supergirl's domestic box office projections are now between 50 and 55 million. Yikes. That's less than half of Superman's 125 million, with other analysts saying it could slide even lower. Oh, it's almost assuredly going to come in lower. And this movie appears that it is going to be incredibly front-loaded. A lot of people noticed that pre-sales for Supergirl actually slowed down the closer that we got to release date. Now, I can't tell you whether or not that's true, but part of me absolutely believes it, considering the projections that we've seen as they mature closer to the release date itself. Meaning that The people that really wanted to see this movie or that had any interest in seeing this movie bought their tickets almost immediately when they became available several weeks ago, and that entire audience is now exhausted. Unless this movie has a lot of walk-up traffic, I don't even know if this movie is going to see 50 million. It might not even see 40. And on June 24th, that seemed to be relatively confirmed by Deadline itself, noting that Toy Story 5 is absolutely going to run a train on Supergirl. Toy Story 5, with nearly $90 million in its second frame, its second weekend, will have more friends than Supergirl. There's a snake in Supergirl's boot, and it's the second weekend of Disney's Toy Story 5, the $170 million DC Studios feature, the second production under the James Gunn and Peter Safran-run Warner Brothers comic book division after last summer's Superman, is expected to open in the upper 40s. Yeah, ouch. That start would be around such previous DC greenlights as 2023's The Flash, which got $55 million. Again, not even adjusting for the last 3 years of inflation, where it's not nearly as pronounced as, say, the last 8 to 10 years, but there is still some in there. The Flash at $55 million in 2023 would probably be at least $60 million today, if not a smidge higher. We're talking about a Supergirl movie that might be floating around in the low 40s to mid 40s, significantly under that. But wait, it gets worse. Overseas estimate for the Craig Gillespie directed feature take of Tom King and Bilquis Evely's graphic novel, Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. And again, that's another one of the first problems out there. And again, Craig Gillespie is the director. He's not the screenwriter for this. But it sounds just like what Christopher Nolan is doing this year with The Odyssey. Basically taking the most widely regarded as the worst adaptation of the book in the Odyssey's case, or in this case, possibly the worst adaptation of the Supergirl character, and decided to use that crap as the basis to make a movie. Cool?
Seeing your pants is cool. Consider me Miles Davis.
Those international weekend projections are in the low 40 millions. We hear from sources the pick is opening everywhere except for Belgium and France. Hence, the global opening range is between 80 to 90 million. Well, la-dee-da. If the movie actually manages to pull off a 3x from $80 million, that means it's at 240 million. If it manages to go 90 million and pull a 3x from there, globally again, that means it's 270 million. Basically telling us that 300 million is absolutely off the table because there's almost no way in hell this movie is going to go 3x from when it rolls out, not with the poor word of mouth that it has behind it and not with all the other competition coming up. For example, Toy Story 5's second weekend, days 8, 9, and 10 for Toy Story 5, after passing 200 million at the domestic box office on Tuesday, the fifth quill is eyeing a second frame in North America between $88 and $96 million. That's right. Toy Story 5 is going to, or at least is projected to, rake in more box office on its second weekend in North America alone than Supergirl will on its opening weekend around the entire planet of Earth. And not that we typically care the day-to-day activities or most of the reviews or scores that take place on places like Rotten Tomatoes, but as I always point out, so many people out there do. And for argument's sake, Supergirl still sits sub 60% at Rotten after 182 reviews. And the all critics and top critics are basically right on top of one another.
Phrasing.
And some of those fresh ratings, let's be honest, if you've ever paid attention to the reviews themselves and then what's next to it, rotten or fresh, you'll start questioning some of those fresh marks next to those reviews. By the way, how well is Toy Story 5 doing? Well, just look at Deadline magazine here. Disney, the first studio of 2026 to cross $3 billion thanks to Toy Story 5 and The Devil Wears Prada 2. I feel like there's a big, like a really, really big $4 billion IP that had its first movie in 7 years come out this year that, strangely enough, was not mentioned in the headline as giving Disney the assist to the $3 billion. What the hell was that movie?
Yes, 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 yes.
But oh my God, this is the article that just will not go away because there is, again, so much misunderstanding out there. Now, I did an entire video on this that released a couple of nights ago. And again, thanks to Jack Posobiec, big X account out there who retweeted it. Much appreciated for that. Whether you agree politically with Jack or not, don't care, but I do appreciate the retweet. We're all professionals here. But this article from Deadline magazine I had to address. Not that Deadline got anything wrong. They didn't. But there is this glazing for this movie out there that is absolutely insane. Or at the very least, there is a fundamental misinterpretation and misunderstanding about how this business works and how deals like this work. And we have another one now from John Campea.
Here we go again.
Supergirl has already passed $100 million plus in promo partner deals, which is the biggest ever for anything out of DC. More than most films ever do. $100 million. Deadline goes on to write this. I mean, it may make more money from its Supergirl might make more money from Kentucky Fried Chicken than it does from movie audiences going to go see it.
No. 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 No.
What do we call it when you're dropping like promo within movies? Like product placement. That's the phrase I'm looking for.
Nope. Nope. No, it's not product placement. This has nothing to do with product placement. Why do we continue to have this conflation? The Deadline article to me was abundantly clear. These are media promotional partners. You obviously don't understand what that means. And look, all due respect to John Campea, I'm not trying to pick on the guy, but he does have a very large and older YouTube audience out there. And this is part of the problem why so many people out there, especially in social media, get so many things wrong. If you're going to talk about this stuff, please take the time to understand what you're reading and saying to that audience. We're not all perfect. I've made mistakes. I get things wrong from time to time. I own up to it. But this is kind of fundamental. If you're going to talk about the business side of the movie industry and the Hollywood industry, you've got to get this right. This has nothing to do with product placement.
Product placement, as well as the larger scope of promo stuff, has been a part of movie marketing and movie budgeting for a very, very long time.
Yes, but again, this is not product placement.
But again, it's an interesting thing that it's become more and more a part of the overall financial structure of movies. Because at already making $100 million. No, they're not.
I
mean, that means the break-even point for Supergirl, which is hovering around Black Adam's break-even point, which is right around the $400 million mark.
Don't say it, John. Don't say it.
Now it's closer to $300 million.
No.
Technically speaking.
No.
And I don't know if that's going to become something we have to start taking more and more into consideration as we go forward.
No.
Again,
we don't.
I think, number one, it's not only possible, I think it is expected, guys, that this movie is going to make more money from its promo deals than it will from the box office in its opening weekend.
Oh, no,
Like,
he said the thing. He said the thing. No, I'm sorry, John, with all due respect, none of this is product placement. This is not a paid sponsorship. This is not a licensing contract. This is a promotional marketing campaign. You are conflating things out there. Let me explain this again. They're not making more money from KFC than the box office or Ulta Beauty or anything else. Warner Brothers got exactly, you ready? $0. $0. The $100 million figure that Deadline reported is a figure that is a proportional value calculated on the cumulative advertising campaigns of the 80 partners that co-branded Supergirl in tandem with Warner Brothers. Meaning, if KFC ran a $100 million marketing and promotional campaign, meaning they spent $100 million to buy ads on Google, on television, on Netflix, on Amazon Prime, on Roku, on your Google pop-ups, or sending you emails because they want you to buy fried chicken. Because they sell fried chicken. They don't sell Supergirl. They put the Supergirl in there because, why not? If Warner Brothers is going to give it to them to enhance their own marketing campaign, they will do it. And that's been going on for a while. This is not having Supergirl eating a bucket of KFC for 5 minutes in the movie. And it's not like the Wayne's World stuff we talked about before or any of the examples you gave. This is $100 million worth of advertising from other people that are piggybacking onto Supergirl because it might help them sell more fried chicken or beauty products, while at the same time, Warner Brothers is getting a reciprocal and equal amount of value from that because it's also enhancing their Supergirl marketing. Nobody's paying anybody for this. It's a handshake deal. That's how these work.
Profit!
The bottom line is this movie is still going to need to recover well over $500 million at the box office. Probably between $550 and $600 million. Theaters only return on average about 50% globally, not including China, back to distribution. In the US, around 52 to 55%, maybe 1 or 2% more if it's a really, really big blockbuster movie with $1 billion plus riding on it. In terms of box office, on the international side, it's consistently close to 40, and it's actually slipped under 40 in the last year or two down to 38. We know this because we actually look at financial records from, guess what? Exhibitors, meaning theaters like AMC, Regal, Cinemark, and so on. So we actually are pulling real data as opposed to, I talked to a guy who worked at a theater one time. We're going to give you the real numbers. And in this case, if you've got $175 million net production coming from the studio side, and you've got another 100 to 125 million pretty easily coming from the distribution side of Warner Brothers, that's nearly $300 million of total investment. You need about double that at the retail level to get that number back at the wholesale and distribution level. It's as simple as that. Now, according to some out there, like The Wrap, alleged by Everything DCU, whatever this Twitter account is, but they've cited The Wrap in it, Warner Brothers is considering any amount above $300 million a, quote, victory for Supergirl and DC Studios. Sure.
All right. We'll call it a draw.
I mean, I guess you can consider anything a moral victory if you want, right? It's aspirational. Just like awarding a writer to screenwrite this movie, Supergirl, that has no experience whatsoever. It's about as aspirational as, like, I don't know, a Nobel Peace Prize handed out to a president that had not accomplished anything before.
Simply put, these strikes have saved lives.
The reality is $300 million, whether Warner Brothers considers that a moral or market victory or not, is quite irrelevant. It doesn't change the fact of what the bottom line needs to be on this movie. It doesn't change the financials. It doesn't change the accounting. Warner Brothers may look at it as a victory, but it's certainly not going to be a profitable victory in this event. But then again, who knows where their minds are? But let's be clear once again, this $100 million promotional campaign does not go towards this and has nothing to do with why Warner Brothers would consider this some type of quote-unquote victory. Of course, the final problem is this movie is unlikely to get anywhere near $300 million. Have fun. Make sure you're subscribed to Valiant Renegade and join us every Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern for the live show.